Welcome to the JoeQCar Show. This episode we are talking with Brian from Regular Car Reviews. He has a brand new video out. It is on a Volkswagen Westfalia camper van. Go check that out. Please enjoy this candid interview, this lovely conversation I got to have with Brian. Welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of the JoeQCar Show. Welcome to the JoeQCar Show. I'm Joe, and we have a lovely special guest today, Brian, or
Hello.
We call you Mr. Regular.
Oh, everybody knows my name's Brian now.
Yeah, you were keeping it a secret there for a while. Mr.
Yep.
Regular from Regular Car Reviews. And what the reason you're doing this media tour is why?
We have created a pitch pilot to sell to name your streaming service, your Amazon, your Netflix, your Disney, maybe, whoever's out there, Motor Trend on Demand, unless they've been bought out by somebody else. I'm not certain. And Regular Car Reviews is a comedy car show with a lot of poop jokes, but with sentimentality in there as well. So we took all the beats, all the nuggets of Regular Car Reviews, and tried to condense everything that this channel is into a package that some guy in a suit and tie in a boardroom can understand. And you layer on top of that a production company called Visual Inclination from Toronto. They have credits including the Food Network, and they do commercials as well. But one of the co-owners, Ivan, was a fan of RCR, said, let's try to work on something together here. So we have a pilot. It's out on YouTube now. It's a 1989 Volkswagen Vanagon Westfalia camper van. It was filmed with a number of different cameras, including a RED, which I didn't know that those things actually film at 8K. So it went from 8K to 4K. Like, I'd love, like, what he has, the raw footage of this YouTube video, which exists on his hard drive, you could put that in a theater and it'd look movie, and it is movie quality.
That is what I got. Watching the video, it's what, 12 minutes long or so?
Yep.
And it is a combination of everything you've learned and done and then some. It's the production value is out of this world. If you watched RCR before and you haven't in a while, come back to it. Watch this. It was amazing. I wanted to get the plug out of the way early because I have other things to ask you.
Okay.
So, we can say your brand of humor, your brand of writing, maybe a little bit blue.
Of course.
Where did it come from? What has influenced you to make your brand of humor that way?
A lot of it was frustration. Because I didn't like a lot of the car content that was out there. It was very dry. Of course, there was Top Gear. And I was working a job where I felt very unfulfilled, and number of jobs, in fact. And it became an outlet to curse out car companies and talk about my dick, because there was no one else to do that to. And surprisingly, I mean, it took 2 years of people were like, the heck is this? It's just a car, but then it's a guy just delving into the depravity of his mind. And then after 2 years went by, a turn happened, and then people saying, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So that was a big ego boost. And then we kept it going. But now the channel, like, now that you're kind of financially secure, a lot of that anger went away, and it became replaced with nostalgia and then sentimentality toward our parents. People age, people move on. I'm going to be 40 in 2 years. So you can't be Beavis and Butthead forever, although it's still fun, and farts will always be funny. I Dutch oven myself every night, and sometimes I don't even enjoy it. I eat a lot of raisins, and they flavor things evilly.
So this combination of fart jokes and high art, is what I love about the channel, and I think what is the draw for a lot of people is how you can mix these senses of humor together and this writing style together, and that is what I appreciate about it. So,
Thank you.
was that what you were going for when when you started out being an angry, angsty? You kind of went through your teen phase, and now
Yeah.
you're growing up with this film, especially. And I call it a film or a mini documentary because it is, and it is a piece of art. So go watch it. But this growing up phase, you said something in that Westphalia clip about, you know, you realize that you have to give back to your parents in a way.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was a very astute observation. One, now I'm a father, so like I understand
Congratulations.
in a different way. It's like, oh my gosh, they were making it up as they go along, and
Yeah.
that is a theme you've been hitting on in multiple videos of yours now. So can you speak to that?
Both Nick Roman, who couldn't be here, who also co-writes everything. He's the other half of Regular Car Reviews. His father passed away early in life, and my parents are just fine, getting older, but just fine. And I think that's what brought on these parental themes, because I know within 10 years, I'm going to have to start taking care of my parents in a way that's going to be new. It's where, the roles are going to start switching in probably small ways. My parents are very, there's a noticeable age difference between, my mom and my dad, which is just pretty the norm for people who married, like, I believe, gosh, when did they marry? Sometime in the 70s. And they understand that it's, men tend to peter out a little quicker. They tend to age a little faster exponentially. So mom will be probably the primary caregiver for dad. And dad wouldn't want to hear this. I mean, he kind of understands it, but my dad was a naval officer, so very secure in himself. So growing up in a military home, there was like, okay, dad has these things that, he does and expects. And he rarely, it's so funny. Like, the only time he asks for help is when it comes time to lift things. But even now, I can lift and carry more things than my dad does. And yet, he still tells me it's too heavy when it's too heavy for you when we're both carrying this dresser or something. Now don't hurt yourself. I'm like, Dad, you're 75. I'm not the one to be worried about here.
That's impressive. Your dad's 75 carrying a dresser. He must take care of himself.
Oh yeah.
So you grew up in a military home, and obviously, maybe not obviously, you did not join the military or go into that.
I made it as far as the MEPS.
Okay.
I was originally my family's firstborn. It was all Navy. So I was going to go Navy, just continue the tradition. But I was a bit older. I'd already graduated college, so I had my degree already. And then, the recruiters, they just want people. And I don't know if it helps them to know that a guy was just going to go straight in to be an officer, which is what I wanted. But on the other hand, like, everybody was telling me, like, you don't have to go Navy. You already have your degree. You're a little bit older. Let me tell you about this delightful branch called the Air Force. I'm like, but I don't know how to fly. I'm like, you don't have to. What's your degree in? English. Well, you can fly a desk. It'll be pretty cool. So that was what I was going for. I was gonna, go into the Air Force and try to become an officer there. But what happened was I was also shopping around to go back to go for graduate school. So, and there was no way I was going to pay for graduate school. I'd have to get the school to pay for it. I'm like, well, maybe let's do two things at once. Let's look at the military, and then let's look at see if the school will pay for me. I was lucky enough that the dean of the education department at Kutztown University, rest in peace, great man, Daryl Garber, said, yes, I need an assistant. When can you start? And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I didn't swear at the MEPS, and I knew Kutztown was going to work way faster than Uncle Sam was. People were telling me, like, look, yeah, you'll get into the Air Force, and then you'll be fucking around for a year. So, especially if you're going to be an officer or something like that. So, I didn't want to stick around my hometown anymore. So, yeah, I'll take this job. So, school paid for itself that way, and that was the end of that. I still have thoughts about, should I have gone in or others. And then some of my other friends are like, Brian, you do not belong in the military. You would not survive in that environment. You don't like being told what to do. So it is what it is.
I kind of wondered that, because you pick up in your content that you grew up with a military background, or in your family, a military household, and then you kind of have taken some of those things, ran with it, and then went a totally different direction with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wondered if there was some sort of like, what was the dichotomy there? Like,
yeah.
Was it challenging for you when you were like, actually, I'm gonna go to school and then make a YouTube channel?
Yeah, my dad respectfully disapproved of it. Even after I quit my job and was still doing that, he still says, I don't like the things you're saying. But then my extended family out in LaPorte, Indiana, who's my great uncle, not great uncle Ben, great uncle something or other. Gosh, I can't remember his name right now. It'll come to me. My grandfather's brother, out there, his son, or like grandson, my age, was an Army Ranger. He liked it. He liked regular car reviews, told my dad that he likes it, and then suddenly dad likes it.
So once an Army Ranger says it's okay, then you're clear.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little bit transparent. Like the second the rest of the family said they were fans of mine, my dad spun that U-turn pretty darn quick in that kitchen right there. And ever since, he's been a fan. I'm not knocking him, but I've been a fuck up most of my life. So, and my brother, my younger brother, is a successful one. He works in a hospital. God bless him. He works not psychiatric unit, therapy unit, but what's the name? There's psychologists and there's psychiatrists. Psychiatrists are the people who can write prescriptions. Psychologists are the people you talk to. Psychologist. So he works there. He has an upstanding job that makes sense to people. You can talk about it at family dinners. And then there's Brian.
So are you saying you were always the weird kid? Were you the black sheep, or what?
Yeah, I had I guess I had an advantage being the firstborn son, but so you got a lot of breaks that my brother didn't. I feel guilty about that, but
I don't know. Why would you feel guilty about that? I'm a firstborn. All the pressure gets put on you, right? You are the person, and you're also their test monkey. So you are your parents' test bed. So I wouldn't put that kind of pressure on yourself. Why do you put so many pressures on yourself?
Because I feel at some point there's going to be somebody with an authority, like an MP, is going to come through the door and say, "That's enough of this. You're done making videos and having fun. You're going to go back pushing a broom at Solo Labs in Kutztown, which was a factory that made orthopedic shoe insoles. So you're going to go back and you're going to clean that factory. You're going to be waking up at 5:30 every morning. This is what you do now. Fun's over." So I keep going, keep saving my money. Good that I save my money now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because right now YouTube revenue has been cut over half because no one's working, no one's making products. There's nothing to advertise, so there's no one buying ads, so the ad rates drop. Like when I watch videos, the algorithm knows what I like. The algorithm knows what I like. They know Brian likes penis pumps and auto parts. So you get ads for Blue Chew and O'Reilly's.
I feel like that's your cross section though. They got you summed up. Yeah, I keep getting the Raycon ads. So I mean, what does that say about me? But
What's
The
Raycon? I'm unfamiliar.
they are earbuds. They're Bluetooth earbuds that I feel are inescapable. It's like Raid Shadow Legends, but for earbuds.
Oh God, I tell them to fuck off in various ways. Fucking Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta read you this email.
They're good. They're trying to get you to advertise Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, a bunch of times. It's all different people.
I don't even want to talk about the name of the game anymore. But like, okay, we know who we're talking about. How many email they just attack all the YouTubers with all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're getting emails from them. Uh, so, what kind of things invoke your creativity? Why cars? Why did cars? Why did you latch onto that?
Cars are a delightful enclosed space that you can go and be yourself. They are a place to, it's such an honest question. I have to think about it for a second. I enjoy the solace that a long drive can provide. Of course, they can do things you can't. They can go 100 miles an hour. Um, they allow you to experience superhuman acceleration, deceleration, and also it's like putting on like a costume or something. You can be someone else in a vehicle without having to do anything. I greatly enjoy the, even if it's a tad artificial, the admiration I get when I cruise around in my 1960 Ford Falcon. I can gain the approval of other fathers just by being at the gas pumps. And Nick had a really good line saying that classic cars remind older people that their youth still exists, and even if their kids don't appreciate it, someone else's grandkids does. And also that my youth still exists. I had a 1988 Toyota MR2 for about a year and a half. That was my dream car. People say, "What's your dream car?" It's like, I already bought it. And it was perfect. I was the second owner of it. It was put in a garage in 1988. It was driven every summer. It had 70,000 miles on it, but they're all healthy summertime miles. And the car was great. And then I worried about it all the time. Can't take it anywhere. So I'm going to door ding it. So eventually I just stopped driving it because I was just so protective of this beautiful, it had that gorgeous shade of white that Toyota made in the 80s called Super White. It's a very difficult temperature of white to photograph because it's so reflective. It messes up your auto exposure. It thinks that's a light. Your camera thinks it's a light source. So it'll correctly expose this car. Then the black background, it looks like it's night out time in the midday. So you could go to manual and then this car gets just all blown out. It's just like this halo thing. It's like our eyes can deal with it. Who knows what our dynamic range is of a human eye, but a camera, you have to employ like shadow and highlight filter in Premiere just to have this car look correct. You have to underexpose the car so the background doesn't get all grainy. I'm getting aside. It was a gorgeous thing. The interior was blue. It was perfect. And I remember seeing a car like this. This car, it would either have been one of three cars that kind of looks like this with the flip up headlights in 88. In 88, I was in, no, it would have to be 89 when this like fuzzy snapshot of a memory exists where I saw a little wedgy car with pop up headlights out of the window of Mrs. Zimmerman's first grade classroom at Blue Mountain Elementary West. And I remember having this a cascade emotion of joy washed over me because it's the last day of school and the buses are coming. It's the last minute of the last day of school. The buses are coming. And from a little kid's mind, I will never return. 3 months. That's 3 years. I'm never coming back to this building. So I remember looking out the window of her classroom, and there must have been a car like that rolling by, and it looked like something out of a video game or a little toy thing. I think the line in my video that I talked about was that for a little kid, a car is something that takes you to church or takes you to the grocery store where you will be scolded because you can't touch all these brightly colored things that you've never seen before. A car is something that takes you to the department store where you will try on pants. You will never leave this department store. You can't go hide in the circular rack of the pants. A car is just one gigantic square of no. And when I saw this little wedgie sports car, it's like, oh, cars can be fun. So that nugget of memory just stuck in me somewhere. And I needed to have a car like that. Looking back, if it's 1989, it probably could have been something, and in a working class neighborhood, it probably would have been like a Mitsubishi Starion or Chrysler Conquest or a Pontiac Fiero or an MR2, something like that. It probably wouldn't have been a Fiat. It certainly wouldn't have been a Ferrari, but something like that. I needed to have something like that, and then I had it for a while.
The fuzzy memory, the way your brain plays tricks on you, and you can't remember what that initial inspiration was. It seems like that's almost an obsession of yours and Nick's too, probably as something you refer back to. When you got your MR2 and you had that feeling that's like you got it, but then you had it for about a year and then you started thinking like, this is going to go wrong. I got to worry about this. Like that's what killed my Z4 for me. I had this BMW Z4 and I loved it. It was my dream. It was my mini dream car because, my real dream car is unobtainable. But like my mini dream car, my attainable dream car was this Z4 from 2006. I sat in it at like a car show and I was like, this is it. And I had it for a while, and then my Midwestern roots got the best of me, and I was like, why do I have this nice thing? I'm sick of people thinking that I make more money than I do. A brand new Ford Focus cost more than what I paid for the car at the time because I bought it used. And I just when you're talking about your MR2 and like this worry that set in, it reminded me of the Z4 experience that I had. So I wanted to just, even this conversation, you're so insightful to yourself, but I don't know if you understand that it inspires so many other people to make insights and inferences about their emotional state and mental state. So,
yeah, I mean, stories about cars aren't stories about machines. Rarely, they're stories about people.
Yep. No, yep. And I just really, I'm gushing. Like I adore the work you're doing. So keep doing it.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like you had a really fun childhood, and you've latched onto a lot of these interesting memories, and they all shine through in the work you do now.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. And now, but one thing I'm perplexed by is your Pennsylvania pride ? You state it as it is.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, there's we have plenty of representation of West Coast car culture on YouTube. Oh my God! As a Midwesterner, I am in the Midwesterner here.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Detroit area right now. I'm living outside of Ann Arbor.
We were supposed to come to Detroit on the 4th. I have whiteout on my calendar. We were supposed to come to Detroit. I was going to go to a friend's party and also film cars, and well.
Oh man, the Detroit area has gotten a lot nicer in certain areas, but yeah. So Pennsylvania, what do you make of it? You talk about it, you make all these nice local references, and I appreciate it. I have experience in Harrisburg, and I've been to plenty of Sheets. I know, yeah, I know their beer culture there. It's wonderful. Why Pennsylvania? Why do you like sprinkling it in so much?
I guess we're going ham on the local market. It's almost as if this show doesn't recognize that anywhere else exists.
Which I love.
We can make these references and say them with conviction, because it's not like we're trying to pretend we're from Southern California or from Chicago or something like that. I mean, we can speak to those areas because we visited, but you've never gotten into a car accident and realized you may have to walk home from the mall and realize you can like this highway goes right back to your house, but you'll be walking on the side in the gravel by that stamped steel guardrail. You could either walk on the kill you side of it, or you can walk on the thorn bushes and gravel and broken glass and dirty diapers side of it for a good hour, and you'd be back home. And also, Nick and I talked about this, that Pennsylvania is almost a mini United States in that you hold up your hand. I'll do it reverse, but you hold up your hand. That's Pennsylvania. On one side, you've got Philly. Over at the palm of your hand, you got Pittsburgh. You got Alabama in between. And up here, you got a little chimney on Lake Erie. So that's really Pennsylvania. And just like the United States, you got one big city on one side, you got one big city on the other side, and you got flyover country in the middle. So, but we live in the flyover country, and it's fun to give that love because there's a lot of stories here. Oh, speaking of local stories, you're familiar with Centralia, right? The town that's on fire.
Yes.
Have you ever been there?
No, I have not.
There is this closed section of a state highway that's all buckled and destroyed that they built a bypass around it. And by that, I mean they just diverted everything onto a side road. But for the longest time, that was Mad Max of Pennsylvania. If you had a 4x4, they piled dirt so you couldn't drive on the broken highway. But people got over that mound really quick.
They made a playground for ATVs.
Yep, they did. And it's like a no man's land, but it got so popular, especially after like that video game Silent Hill came out, because that was based on Centralia.
Was it
and
really?
Then like for a while there were a lot of houses in Centralia, like a lot of weirdos living in a town full of sinkholes and sulfur gas coming out. Like the earth is on fire underneath, and people are like, I'm not leaving. The state just wants to take my land so they can take the coal. This is the most important thing that's ever happened to them, is that they happen to live in this town that the state is, we'll pay for your house. Just leave. Go to Ashland. I don't care. But recently, like people started graffitiing the highway, and then people made videos up there. Then it's free entertainment to go to a real life ghost town. So then people spray painted the whole highway, and then there were parties up there, people setting tires on fire because it's just no man's land. So the coal company that they just bought up land around, including that section of abandoned Highway 61, and they are now shoveling dirt onto it. So they're just going to return it to nature.
Bury a whole town. It's going to be like a shitty recreation of Pompeii.
Yeah, Pompeii via dump trucks. Yep.
So you mentioned Silent Hill, and you've talked plenty about video games and made video game references. Do you play any racing games, or are you just into RPGs? What's your poison when it comes to video gaming?
I am very casual right now, because if I'm sitting at the computer like I am now, I'm either editing video, doing a podcast, cranking it, or answering emails. I'll play video games, but I don't want to gain weight. So if I'm sitting, it better be for a reason. So I used to play a lot of Gran Turismo 1, but that was back in high school. I played that. I got to the end. I got the pro res version. Like there were a few tracks at the end on PlayStation 1 where I guess they found a way to get more resolution, or maybe they just saved those bits for extra data on the CD. That was the last racing game I really cared about. Oh wait, I had that one Need for Speed or Test Drive Unlimited, I think, or something. The one that was all set in Hawaii.
I don't remember those ones at all. See, I got the feeling that you would light a little candle and play a good Japanese RPG or something like that. I feel like that's something that you would be into. But this is why I wanted to talk to you. I'm like, what is making this? What are making the RCR team? I just love, because there's just so many layers here, and I feel like we could talk for hours and hours, and we've used up more than a half hour, which I allotted for you, and I don't want to waste your time. I know you have lots of interviews coming up, so that's it's interesting to me because you do make video game references in the material, but maybe that's just me seeing what I want to see in the material.
I played a lot in. Gosh, okay. I have some favorites, but they're all dating myself. My favorite video game of all time is a video game called Road Blasters. That was back when if you wanted the good version of the game was in arcades. Sega Genesis came out a few years ago, and that was kind of like an arcade game, but not really. I love the Vector Graph Star Wars arcade game.
And that's a classic.
Yeah.
Love
I'm a big fan of pinball. I'm not a competitive pinball. I just really like it. There was this one. It's interesting how it became like this one's also car themed. It was just called, I think, Grand Prix. There's a pinball game called Grand Prix, an old one. I'm talking early 80s. But this arcade in this mall I worked at a camera shop. And do you remember, like in the 2000s, there was viral video, and it wasn't so much a video as it was video of someone was filming a TV security camera feed of this lady who was texting and walking and fell into a fountain in a mall?
Yep, I'm sure I saw it on E-Bum's World.
Okay. It was just called Fountain Lady. In fact, there were two of them, in fact. But one was in Pennsylvania, and I worked at that mall, and I knew exactly where that fountain was. It was this crazy fountain because the parapet of the fountain is only about shin high. God. So it's a very low fountain, but it had little fountains and lights and everything and benches around it. You could clearly see that this is a fountain, but Herpa Derpa goes right in. Oh, it's such a good video because
I'm watching it right now.
Is it the one like the security guard who put that up? He got fired, but then he got hired at a different mall.
What is it? Wyomissing?
Yep, Wyomissing Mall. Yep. And then like this lady tried to sue everybody, Kathy Kurtz Morano. You know, like when she tried to sue and like, this is going to be my shining moment. And then she got a lawyer who's going to sue everybody. And then they found out she had credit card fraud and had, she had a warrant in a different state for like shoplifting and stuff like that. Like, poor lady. She wasn't even a dumpster fire. She was just like a slightly out of control, like lawn leaf fire. But like, man, 15 minutes and this is how you're spending it. Anyway, so I worked at that mall, and it had a good arcade on the second floor by the food court, and it had this sweet, sweet old pinball game, and I loved that. I did play Final Fantasy VII a whole lot. My consoles when I had growing up, I had a Nintendo, I had a Sega Genesis. I think Tim and I went halvesies on a Sega Genesis, and then I think
Tim
one of us.
Your brother.
Oh, excuse me, my brother. Yes.
Okay.
And then we had a PlayStation 1. By that time, I had got a PC, so I switched to PC. I played the first Half-Life a lot. Friends in college on the LAN in our dorm, we played Counter-Strike, Grand Theft Auto 1, 2, 3. I stopped after San Andreas.
Isn't that weird, though? Like, it is weird because once you get older, you end up having these feelings of animosity when you start spending time that isn't something that isn't directly either improving you or getting to or making you fulfilled in a different way. So like I struggled with that for a long time too, where I was just like, I don't want to play a video game. Like I'm over here trying to build a podcast empire or you know, take care of my child, which is obviously way more important than any video game. But I've just recently found the little mental capacity in my head that clicked. That's like, actually, I really enjoy this. I need to take some time to enjoy something again.
Yeah.
Now that I have a little bit of extra time for reasons, but and I've actually found it to be a really relaxing and enjoyable thing, especially after being gone for so long. Because I basically, that Counter-Strike era things ended and then so much happened in between then.
Yeah.
Looking at it with fresh eyes is a very unique thing. So I don't know. There's stuff out there for you. I promise.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying. This part won't even end up in the show. I'm just convincing you. Play a video game. Take a little bit of a chill pill.
I did download DOSBox,
Oh
so
yeah.
I could play a bunch of old stuff. The only game I have for it right now is SimCity 2000. I'm just going back and reliving old times.
Articulating the splines.
Yep. Yep. I want to try to get to the very end when you can be. I remember I used to play that game. My family had a early version of a Power Mac or something in the 90s. A Macintosh that could play that. I used to play that a lot. I used to leave that game running overnight with auto budget on and disasters turned off just to build up money. And oh man, I love that thing.
Gotta check out City Skyline. That's the new hotness when it comes to city builders. That's the one. I just was playing that the other day, and I mean, like, it was one of those experiences where you're building your city, and you're like, let me try something a little bit different. But I let it run for 2 hours just trying to make enough money because I know that feeling.
Yeah.
But all right, let me let's get back to trying to button this up a little bit. I really feel like everything that you said helps a devoted audience member like myself and maybe some other people listening kind of appreciate the effort it goes through mentally too, not just the physical effort of going and traveling somewhere. What has it taught you to build a YouTube channel and have this kind of success as in the automotive space and in the YouTube space? If we'll call it's not a victory lap, but like, what is your takeaway right now from where you're at?
It doesn't feel like success in what you may be thinking. I mean, clearly, I'm not going back to the. I don't have to go back to pushing a broom and taking out garbage, and I don't have to have lunch duty and wake up and get to the school before the buses get there and organize stuff and have to deal with, the rough kids. You begin to appreciate human contact way more, and the coworkers, and I miss my old coworkers even at the crappy jobs. The isolation of it is tough. And even little things like getting a pat on the back or, well, now shaking someone's hand or the embrace of a good friend. Those are the things you will miss. So God willing, if you get to the point where you can have an endeavor that allows you to work from home under your own terms, do not let friendships go away with people. You're going to miss them. It'll take you about 3 years. The first year is great. I'll never forget it. First year of quitting my job 5 years ago and realizing you're going to give this YouTube thing a try. I had enough money saved up to do it for a year, and I thought, well, I'll do this ham for a year, and if it doesn't work out at the end of the year, I haven't lost anything. I'll just go back to find another job. But the first day of it, it was snowing. It snowed the next day, and like, I do not have to go to work in this. So I'm standing in my kitchen right back there, and got my cup of coffee, just like this, and thinking, you guys are all suckers. So, and then realizing that I was giving up quite a lot, and most of it was all human connection. Is it worth it? Sure, yeah, it is. Because I get to go now. What I do now is I live for the trips, going out. I don't know what people hate about getting on airplanes. I love them. I'm around people. I people watch all the time. It's great. That's what's got bummed me out about the Rona is can't travel, can't do anything. We got enough stuff filmed that we have enough cars to last us until June 8th. So show will keep going. Something's gonna happen by the end of this month because either those checks come out or they don't. And if people's rent is going to come due, and the checks will help, but if they're going to have to do that every month, it's Something's got to give, and we'll see what it is. But for now, it's a great time to drive. You can do it in PA. I'm chirping the tires of that Falcon a lot because there's no one around. Stoplights. I'm not trying to drift the thing. I mean, it would look freaking cool going sideways, but I don't have seatbelts in that thing. So, because it never did. It never did have seatbelts.
And I don't think it has a collapsible steering column. So,
Nope.
Please be careful.
Nope. No collapsible steering column. Those the roof will collapse onto the car. It's very light. First gen Falcons were, I don't know if this is wet or dry, but the number was 2,800 pounds. That's like, what's a Miata? I got to look that up.
That's about a Miata.
It's about a Miata, and it's a 4-door family car. Yeah, but you look and that body, because what Ford did with those things is that is an early version of a unibody car. The frame isn't continuous underneath the car. It's just there's a little subframe for the front, there's a little one for the back, and the floor and roof hold the middle of that car together. You put a Falcon, or for that matter, a first generation Mustang. You put that thing up on a 2-post lift, you'll see you'll see it bend. The whole car will bend. It's not gonna break, but it's like I'm seeing those door gaps widen on the top. So they're light machines. My car right now has the frame joined and welded together. It has a lot of Eastwood X-Mat. It's a competitor to Dynamat in it to quiet it down. Extra fireproofing and sound deadening and carpet or insulation in it. So, and also it has that big K member now in the front, holding the front together, although the strut towers are gone because now it has coilovers in the front. So it tracks pretty good. Bumps a lot more though.
I bet. What car inspired you the most when you were driving in it? That you got in it and you're like, okay, now I got to write the script. What car spoke to you on a level that you weren't expecting?
Give you two answers, because one is a built car and the other is a stock car from the factory. The one from the stock car, straight from the factory, that spoke to me like, this is brilliant. And it's going to be one of the most mundane things you could think of. It's a Honda Accord V6 6MT. Do you own one?
No, but I love them. I look at them from afar and, have the beat of the small little tear, it's there. It's on my short list of things to get as family cars eventually.
Yeah.
So that is a good one.
The 6MT was only available as a coupe. It may be a tough sell as a parent.
Oh, I know. My family car right now is a 1990 Miata. So there's so much more.
Okay, great. Step up. Hey, it's cooler.
Yeah, no, I have a Navigator that's the real family car. I just have my grocery getter, which is it would just be nice to put a kid seat in it. That's all besides the point. Please tell me more about what you think about this car.
It's 278 horsepower and it takes 87 octane. And you get a 6-speed manual. It's great. It'll do 150 miles an hour. And it's smooth and it's quiet and it's fuel efficient. For a V6, I mean, it'll do mid-30s on the highway. It's the only thing it doesn't have going for it is it isn't a sedan, and they didn't offer it as if it had a wagon, holy crap, that'd be brilliant. But that one's pretty darn good, man. And then the other one that inspired me was a built car, built by my friend Justin Kramer from the YouTube channel Fuel Injection Sucks. He also owns his own car repair business, Catasauqua Auto Repair. And also his friend, his one friend Corey. There's a Cody. I always mix that one up. I met him like twice. They bought a 1976 Winnebago Chieftain, and they took the 440 out and put a 6-liter LS and then a Hong Kong Hurricane on it, and then made 550 of the wheels. And eventually they'll get that dynoed and tuned a little bit better, but a Winnebago with a turbo LS in it, you can make your Spaceballs references. That thing was fun at every single speed. It was nicely terrifying. Gosh darn it, that thing was perfect. Well, no, it wasn't perfect. Like, okay, it was perfect when you're accelerating. When you're braking,
it's
stock fuck brakes, man. Yeah, stock fuck brakes.
a lot to slow down with old Winnebago brakes.
No. So those were the two most inspirational vehicles.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on to the JoeQCar show here and reminiscing about the good and the good times that you had making a YouTube channel and all the things that you have created. I am so grateful for you to come on the show. Let the people know where they can find you.
Twitter, Instagram, and email are all the same. Regular Car Reviews. YouTube is Regular Cars, but you just go to YouTube, type in Regular Cars, you type in RCR, all of that, it all comes up.
That's a cool flex, and I'm not talking about the Ford one. That's a cool internet flex. If the Roman, right? Is it the Roman or just Roman?
That's his last name. His real name is Nick Roman.
Okay, so yeah, if Nick wants to come on or
shoot him a DM on Twitter. It's at the Roman Nick on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
I am Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, although I think Nick sometimes posts to the Instagram channel. Nick also handles Facebook all on his own. And then he also puts the podcast up. He does all the iTunes and SEO.
One day, when you make it to the Detroit area, open door, you just let me know. And there are so many good places to go, great beers to get. You just let me know. I will gladly take you out for my favorite spots here, especially in the Ann Arbor area. That's where I'm at right now. So open invitation whenever you're here. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Brian.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Brian for coming on to the JoeQCar show. It was amazing having him on and having him be so candid with some of the stories. It was just, what an experience, especially someone like me who's a fan, if you couldn't tell. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and if you haven't already, check out that Westphalia video. It is a masterpiece. If you want to follow me, you could follow me on social media at JoeQCar, pretty much everywhere. And make sure to like and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks again for listening, everybody.